Hello, and welcome to Framingham Now. I'm Jack Patrick Lewis, State Representative for the majority of South Framingham, some of North Framingham, and the entire town of Ashland. On this program, we talk with elected officials, community leaders, and area activists about the current political landscape in Framingham and the future of the town that many of us call home. As you likely know, this fall Framingham will be voting on new local leaders as part of its journey to become a city. This fall, we will be selecting a mayor and a city council. As part of that city council, we will be electing 2 at-large city councilors. On today's program, we will be interviewing 2 of the many candidates running for those at-large positions. One of those people today, my first guest on this show, is George King. Thank you so much, George, for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Jack.
So let's jump right in.
Okay.
Who are you and why are you running for this position?
Well, I've been in Framingham a long time. I was born here and went to school here, and it certainly is my home. I've been involved in town government in Framingham since my 18th birthday almost. Wow. I guess it kind of gone full circle recently. I was elected to the Edgell Grove Cemetery trustees when I was 18 years old, mainly just because I wanted to be elected to an office and serve the town. Shortly after that, I got elected to the library trustees. I served in the finance committee, and in the early 90s I was elected town clerk, and in the late 90s I was appointed town manager, which I did for 7 years. So I've had a lot of experience in Framingham. My family has been here since the 1950s. Both my parents chose to make Framingham their home. My father was the associate superintendent of schools here in Framingham for a number of years, and the King School on Water Street is named after him. Wow. So we have a deep roots in the community, and I'd like to think we've served the community, and the community has served us. And I think I chose to raise my kids here. My kids are both graduates of Framingham High School, and Framingham High School served them quite well. They've both had very successful college educations based on their experience in Framingham, and really done quite well. So I'm very proud of that, and I think coming out of the community of Framingham has so much to offer. The diversity of the community, the educational system we had, I think played a big role in their lives. In fact, a big role in my life, as I also graduated from Framingham South High School. So 2 high schools in those days. But so Framingham has definitely been home to our entire family, and I'm looking to serve the town again. Since I ceased being town manager, I guess you'd say, in 2005, I haven't been as directly involved in the town government until about 3 years ago when I was appointed to the finance committee and then ultimately elected to the charter commission last year. So I've been able to reinvigorate myself, and it's been interesting because it's really a different perspective.
Excellent. So for folks at home who have seen the Charter Commission process. So we voted to create a Charter Commission. We then voted to approve the recommendation of the Charter. So January 1st, Framingham becomes a city. And this fall, we will be voting not only on a mayor, but on an 11-person city council. And of those 11 people, 9 of them will be voted from local districts. And so when people go to the ballot box, they'll be voting for 1 local district representative on the city council. And they'll also have the opportunity to vote for 2 folks to represent the entire town of Framingham on that city council, or the entire city of Framingham. And so you, George, are running to be one of those 2 people. And in September, because there will likely be more than 2 of you who make the official ballot, actually more than 4 for you, this September there will be a primary that will narrow it down to, I believe, 4. And then we'll go on to a general in November where voters will have an opportunity to decide which one of y'all will represent Framingham, the entire town of Framingham, and its diverse needs on that city council. Can you tell me a little bit more about some of the issues you're running on? You've talked about your rich history in the community, the things you've done, committees served on. What is it about this point in time where you're saying, these are the issues I really want to focus on, this is what Framingham needs from me?
Well, I think first of all, the reason I'm interested in being in the city council is because when I ran for the Charter Commission, I thought the most important change we could make would be the legislative branch. I felt the town meeting had outlived its usefulness, not through any of the responsibility maybe on town meeting, just the nature of the system. The executive, be it mayor, city manager, or weak mayor, wasn't as important to me. So I felt, having those feelings and having seen that happen, I felt being on the first city council would be something that I'm interested in. I think I have the experience to make that level, that transition helpful. There's several issues which I think are very important in Framingham today. The first is taxes. We have great services in this town, and I think we should continue to have great services in this town. But our tax rate is very high in this town. It's masked somewhat, it's not visible by the fact that we have such a split between business and residential. The businesses actually pay more of our taxes than they actually assess for. So, and I think that's good. It's always been that way. I'm not proposing we change that. But the overall tax rate is very high compared to the state. If Framingham had a single tax rate, in other words, did not do the business split, we'd have one of the very highest tax rates in the state. And that's a concern to me. And I think we need to make sure we continue to keep an eye on that and control our taxes. And I believe with a good, efficient work of the city council and the mayor, we can do that. I believe we can control our tax rate. I think we could have done a little bit better over the last few years in doing that. We've done okay at it. I think we could have done better, and I certainly would look to do that. Same with our water and sewer rates. They've increased dramatically in the last 10 years. And there's many people in this town who can't afford that level of increase on an annual basis. So that's one area I definitely want to keep my eye on. You know, I mentioned the schools. I'm a product of the schools. My kids are a product of the schools. It's important that we have good schools. We have to make sure the resources are with the schools, but we have to also make sure it's done in an efficient manner. I'm confident in the new leadership we see both in the school administration and the school committee that that's going to happen, but that's certainly a critical thing. Economic development, we talk about it all the time. The revitalization of our neighborhood centers has to happen. That's an economic issue. It's a community issue. It helps with taxes. It helps with affordability. It helps with quality of life in the community. Just driving by, you know, a dilapidated shopping center is not a pleasant thing to do. That's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because it's a new realm of economic reality, and you know, they're not going to be the 1960 shopping centers when I used to ride my bike to the co-op on Franklin Street, and you know, I remember that fondly, and it was great. It's not going to be that. We have to find something that's as acceptable or as desirable to the neighbors, and it's going to take some work. Another thing, and last thing I guess for now, is traffic in town. I think we really need to look at our roadways and how we can handle the growth and still make the town livable and manageable. And you know, you don't want to take a half hour to drive across Framingham. And the Charter Commission recognized that, and we have a traffic commission that's going to be involved in the new charter too, which is kind of an understated part of the new government, which I think is going to be very important. So those are all issues I'm interested in pursuing as a member of the City Council. Excellent.
One of the issues that has come up, especially since the November presidential election, is how towns and cities, and where I sit as a state, how we can best protect the local immigrant community, how we can make sure that the kids who attend our schools, who live right in our communities, they feel safe, they feel secure. And as Framingham moves from a town meeting to a city council, there's potentially an opportunity here for the city council and or mayor to put new or clarified protections in place for the local immigrant community. Many of them who may be voters in this upcoming election.
Sure.
And so I'm curious if we could talk a little bit about your thoughts about what Framingham has done and what maybe they can do to protect our diverse community.
So Framingham certainly has a rich history of diversity, as like I said, and I believe that's a strength of our community, and it always has been. Back when I was in school, back in the 60s and 70s, there was a large influx of people. We almost forget this nowadays from Puerto Rico. They had come in, and they really were probably the predominant minority community that I went to school with. And then, of course, in the 1990s or so, the Brazilian community had a major impact in this town. There are certainly lots of other smaller immigrant communities. When I was the town manager, we had a sister city relationship with a couple of cities. One was in Russia, which was interesting. We do have a reasonably good-sized Russian population here, and another was with Brazil. I think those are ways to reach out and make people feel comfortable in those situations. You know, the broader federal and state level decisions, to some extent, I don't know how much we can, as a city councilor, even the mayor, really influence those decisions. And it's one of those really difficult issues because of the fact there certainly are, you know, there's a need to obey laws and to make sure that things are done in a proper and ordinary manner. But as you stated too, when it comes right down to it, the people involved, in our communities, these are people. These are our neighbors. These are our friends, and these are people, who work for us, or that we work with, or we work for, whatever the case may be. It's a difficult problem. So I think I think Framingham overall has been very welcoming. And as I say, when I was town manager, we used to be criticized for being too welcoming by some. And
Some of those people are still criticizing the town for being too welcoming, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I haven't really been as directly involved in it recently, but it doesn't surprise me because it is a complex problem. But I think in a lot of ways, Framingham has celebrated and benefited from diversity, and I certainly hope we can certainly find ways to continue that strength of our community, because it really has been a huge strength of the community just to grow up with people from different cultures and different areas. It just helps you when you go out to the world. There's no question about that. So I think within whatever we can do, and I don't pretend to have the answers to that, I think we certainly have to try to be sensitive and realize the strength that's brought to us, while at the same time, addressing the things that have to be addressed.
Well, thank you so much, George, for coming on the show. Our time always goes by so quickly. I like to end by asking everyone the same question. What is it about Framingham that makes it the town? We both live here, so we make a choice to live here. That's one thing. But to choose to be a public servant for as many years as you have been, to put yourself out there, to run, to spend the next 6-9 months of your life running for the city councilor position. What is it about Framingham that makes the kind of town that you're happy to do that much work for?
Well, I think in my instance, as I stated at the beginning, it's home, so that makes it, it's been my home. That doesn't make me more qualified or less qualified than anybody else. I certainly don't mean to suggest it that way, but just my personal motivation towards it. I grew up here, the family had roots here. There's a lot of people who could have moved in here last year who are equally as qualified and equally as able. But I think that's my, issue. It's home, and that's what makes me motivated to do it. And I just have I have a deep belief overall in public service, and I've lived my life that way, I hope, and I would want to continue doing it. So since I live in my hometown, it's a good opportunity to get involved in an area that I think I have the expertise and the skills to do and make a difference.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck with your ongoing campaign. And I hope everyone will stay tuned. We'll have another guest here up in moments that's also running for one of these town-wide seats. Thank you.
Thank you.